Yeah, so I have my own tested methodology for this. But I think it's important to remember before we actually get into the testing phase of which one do you test, when do you test it, how do you test it? We have to remember how these are going to get seen, right? So, very first thing that I do is remember every time this is on a platform. The platforms have millions of different things trying to vie for attention. Even though the platforms are built to keep people on them, they still like all of these platforms make their money through advertisers. So, like, they have to be able to get people to click off somehow. Now, we also have this saying in marketing right now, which is we are in interruption marketing, right? So all we do is just interrupt the scroll, stop the thumb, and somehow we'll get them to click. I disagree with that. We are not in interruption marketing. We are in reminder marketing, right? So as people are scrolling through, the only thing they're trying to do is escape. Just think of yourself when you're scrolling. All I'm just trying to escape for 10 minutes. Just like, please don't bother me. Dogs, like kids, please go away. Like, just give me 10 minutes to burn off brain cells, basically. Because of this, all we're trying to do every time somebody scrolls through is remind them about something they're currently experiencing subconsciously. All my entire job is just to remind you that you wanted this, and that's it, right? It's not my job to get you to convert because I literally can't persuade you to do anything. Your brain will decide whether now is the time or not. So that's what I start with. Secondary to that, I always identify those core emotions through research and a lot of like linguistic analysis. Once I've identified the top two or three, right? So esteem or belonging or whichever one it is, then I do a lot of basically just a lot of like headline generation with AI. So I use ChatGPT every single day. A lot of times I'll use Midjourney to generate any sort of like images that I can't get from the brands. So I'm trying really hard to make sure the pairing of headline to image is very psychology focused as well. Image gets processed about 60,000 times faster than text in the brain. So the image is getting processed first, no matter what. And that includes video. Now, on video, it's a little different because for the brain, it's the image and it's the sound that gets processed first before the video even gets seen. It's the sound. So for video, I prioritize whatever the sound is, has to be very good, like very interesting for the brain. For statics, though, I will go and I'll basically test one emotion at a time within sets of about 3 to 5 static ads. I don't usually follow the general testing roster where it's we have a testing campaign, we have a scaling campaign, and then we have like a wild card campaign where we're still testing lookalikes, right? I don't do that as much anymore because and I think we're slowly starting to figure this out that if you launch a set of 3 ads, one of them starts to take off and you turn off the losers, the winner immediately diminishes. I have kind of guessed this for years, but all of your ads are going into the system at the same time, so they're kind of attached to each other as they go through the system. Especially since it's a lottery, right? Like right now it's just gambling. We're entirely in some sort of, a system where we're competing with other brands. So what I want to do is test emotion first and don't turn off anything unless it's just dragging the whole campaign down. So I'll go through and I'll test 5 ads to esteem, 5 ads to belonging, and then 5 ads to nurturance or whatever it is. And then from there, I can tell campaign wise, nurturance is doing really freaking well, right? Once I've identified what's going on with the actual emotions, then I'll go through and do a lot of linguistic work to try and identify which form of that emotion works best. So this I do through Thesaurus. I literally go to thesaurus.com and I type in the main emotion and it'll give me thousands of different ways to say this one emotion. So for instance, I worked with a beauty brand who was really heavily focused on confidence. And when we did the NLP research, most of their customers were responding pretty well to this sentiment. But they were like, we get a decent amount of acquisition and like retention's okay. But our issue is it's just so expensive to acquire anybody. And we know that they're coming in with confidence. We just don't know how to fix that, the cost problem. So I went through and identified like basically 5 to 7 nuances of confidence because confidence can go several different directions. Cheeky is confident. Boss babe is also confident, right? There's different ways that it comes out from the human behavior. So I need to know which one is going to hit the best. So for these guys, cheeky worked so incredibly well for some reason. I thought it was going to be boss babe, like just total transparency. Sarah was wrong. Totally thought it was gonna be Boss Babe. And then we ran an ad that was just like, something to the effect of like, "Makeup as cheeky as you are," right? And it crushed. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But we ran one campaign, 5 ads, all to cheeky, and that one just took over the whole spend, like, dominated. So, it just goes to show you, man, there's a million different ways to say the same thing, and we're stopping at step 1.
I love this kind of approach to creative testing that that starts with the emotion, because I've done a lot of it where it's more like, okay, we're going to test these different outcomes against each other, or we're going to test these different products against each other. Um, Starting with the emotion is it's psychology. It's like akin to trying to convince your significant other to do this thing, right? And it's like you have to appeal to the emotions to do that. And maybe you experiment with a couple of different approaches before you.
Everybody needs something different. It works so well with your significant other, I might, like, add, and your children, honestly, because 'cause I'm constantly thinking, like, "How can I psychology you into this?" But everybody needs something different, and, if you followed it for the last, like, 10 years, love languages has really, like, boomed in the US. People are buying books and all kinds of courses and trainings on trying to figure out people's love languages. Well, that has to do with your core values and the psychology beneath what you think you want. For me, I'm not an affirmation person. I don't really need to be told like you're doing great, right? But I'm quality time. Like I need to spend time with people. So for my husband, if he wants me to do anything, like, hey, it's cool if I go golfing, he will literally trade time for time. He will come at it with a message of, if I go golfing this weekend, I'll take you to a movie tomorrow, right? And I'm like, done. 100%. So the message has to fit the underlying need and the emotion attached to it. Otherwise, you're just burning money for no reason, basically.